Hey guys, James Wilson Taylor here for Rock Sound. It's the latest of our video calls, chatting to everybody from the comfort of our own homes. And I'm delighted to say our guest today, we've got K.Flay on the line. How are you?
I'm doing great. I just got done with Pilates.
Oh,
So,
very good. Yeah, we're catching you quite early in the day, right where you are in the world, yeah?
well, it's 10:30 here. I typically get up at 7. So I'm not I don't rise like psychotically early, but I try to usually when I have like sessions in the studio I start at 1, so I like to have a full day of like getting my shit done before I get into the creative space.
I mean, that's still very early for a rock star lifestyle, so fair play to you. I think if we put all of our regular guests on a line and said, what time are you up in the morning? I think you're going to come out on top there, surely.
Well, yeah, the morning, it's a night. I don't know. There's something nice about just like, for me, I love to, when I'm starting to work on music, whether it's for someone else or myself, just be like, I posted some bullshit on TikTok. I did Pilates. It's done. And now I'm just in this zone. I can be in here till 2 in the morning, like whatever.
Yeah, nice attitude to have, man. Nice attitude. Well, yeah, nice to catch you at the start of the day, kicking things up. And let's get right into it. The new EP is out there now. It's called Outside Voices. Very, very exciting stuff that I want to get into. I want to start with a question I love to ask everybody, which is about titles. I love a title. I love a big provocative statement summing up a record. Outside Voices, talk to me. Why did that sum up this collection of songs for you?
So this EP is the side B to Inside Voices, which is the EP that I released earlier this year. So these two EPs constitute a full length record, which we will be having vinyl and a couple other tracks too. But like this is really kind of a unit. So it's two sides of the same coin. And I think for me, this concept of inside voices and outside voices first came into my mind really at the outset of the pandemic when I was sort of struck with the fact that in the outside world now, right, like we are wearing a mask, we have to be quiet, everyone's afraid, and the only place where we can like fucking scream is inside, and this kind of the flipping of inside versus outside voices. But the more I started thinking about it in relation to the music I was making, where I really started to kind of key in was our inside voice as the kind of primal id part of our brain, and the outside voice is like the super ego voice of society, and how for each of us we are constantly negotiating the animal within, and sort of the cage that we live in, and like what does that feel like? How can I make music that is structured around that conflict? So Outside Voices is the EP that really reflects a little bit more on kind of our conscience, and how much we've internalized the messaging from society and how we can maybe make our own definitions of how we want to live in the world.
Man, it's really interesting hearing you say that because what I took away, I mean, just initially looking at some of the tracks on here compared to the previous EP, the previous EP seemed kind of intimate to me. And then this is, I mean, it's still got intimate moments, but it's dealing with big topics. You are definitely looking to coin the phrase outside and at the world around you in a bigger way, right?
Yeah, 100%. And I think this, to me, this EP, each song is a little bit more of a reckoning.
Right.
Whereas with Inside Voices, it was an expression. Like, I'm fucking angry. This is what it sounds like. No one's hearing me when I'm shouting. This is how I feel. And, I think with this EP, I really wanted to, as you say, kind of take on some of these bigger topics. Like, how do I think about heartbreak in a complicated way? How do I think about the internet and my own complicity in it in a complicated way? Like, can I dive into some of that stuff?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, let's dive into it. I mean, we'll start with I'm afraid of the internet, seeing as you've just mentioned it there. I mean, I love the fact that it's simultaneously funny and horrifying. You know what I'm saying? It's like reflecting back so many of our concerns, but with tongue firmly in the cheek there. Tell me, I guess, a little bit about the approach to that, because that is a delicate balance to try and get, isn't it?
100%. And this song had, sorry, that's the trash truck on my street. This is from my house. This is a day in the life. This song kind of evolved, had different forms that it took over time, because it originated in a very uncomplicated way where I was strumming on the guitar and singing, I'm afraid of the internet. Because something happened where I was just like, I think we have these moments, particularly with regard to our current society and technology, where this sense of inundation is just so immense, and I have these moments with the internet where I'm like, this thing is like bigger and crazier and scarier than and more beautiful than any of us can even contemplate. Like, a single human mind doesn't know everything that's happening on the internet, and there's so much, and it's like insane. So I was thinking about that. I wrote a first verse. I had a Zoom session with a good friend of mine who's a wonderful songwriter named Nick Long, and we've worked together on a variety of things. And he's been doing a ton of great work in like kind of the modern rock world as well, and having a lot of success. But we were just had a Zoom session. I was like, hey man, I started this idea. Is it stupid, or what do you think? Like, because I think for me, I like to have a sense of humor in my work and in my music. And I think this song was really towing that line of like, I'm serious, but I'm joking, but I'm also really serious. And I played it for him. He loved it. And he was really the person who pushed me down that rabbit hole on the bridge. He was like, let's take it further. What does it feel like to be, what are you trying to talk about in this song? And I think fundamentally we go to the internet, we get sort of lost in it. Our self-esteem gets sort of decimated, then built up. We see something inspirational, we try to go out and enact it. We feel bad, and we return yet again to this thing. And like that relationship of dependence and self-esteem and identity, that was really what I found interesting as a person who, for their work life, has to spend a fair amount of time on the internet. I'm very interested in how that has affected me, and positively and negatively.
Yeah, God, spending your work life on the internet, I can't possibly imagine what that must be like every single day on this hellscape. But anyway, it's all good, really. But it's funny. Maybe it's just because that's something else that I've been listening to a lot lately. But it struck me a little bit. I don't know if you've checked out Bo Burnham's Inside, but that's sort of, again, just similar topics. But again, it's that, like I say, that fine line of like, how can we be humorous about this, but really show that no, we really fucking care about this issue too.
Totally. And I had finished this song and everything before that came out. And when I saw that, I was like, I always love that when I feel like I'm thinking about something that other people are thinking about too. And we're having a similar dialogue where we're like, we're reckoning with this thing. And I really loved his approach to it. I mean, I think that special was like beyond genius. I think he's amazing. And I loved that. And I think, my goal with this song too, and Tommy English, who produced it, one of my frequent collaborators and close friends, we wanted to create this feeling of almost ecstasy at the end. It feels happy. And we have a lot of strings, and it's really lush, because at the end of the day, I mean, you just got to kind of throw up your hands and dance or something. I don't know what we can do. Because this thing is so giant that it's like, it's beyond comprehension.
All encompassing, isn't it? All
Yeah.
encompassing. But it's what I liked about this EP a lot. And it's something that you do a lot. You work, and it's something that I enjoy. I think in across any kind of alt music is when it is that comes down to the basics of what we think of as emo. I guess in a lot of ways of it's like either a really happy melody with some sad lyrics, or the other way around. And that is always the sweet spot for me whenever things get that right. And you can see it across this, particularly actually with Nothing Can Kill Us as well, because I think that's a very powerful lyric in there and big powerful emotions. Very catchy melody, very catchy melody, big, like almost blast beats in there as well. I mean,
Yeah.
again, it's a really interesting approach to that topic, I think.
No, thank you. I appreciate you saying that. I mean, that song was born of a very genuine thing. And I think, for me, I've been, kind of going through my own heartbreak over the last, second half of this year or whatever, and really thinking about what it means to be connected to somebody and then to be disconnected. And that can happen in the context, of course, right, of a romantic relationship, a friendship, a family relationship. People die. I mean, I wrote this song about a romantic relationship, but I was thinking also about my father who died when I wrote, because I think there's this thing that happens when you feel really connected to someone, which is that a moment or a feeling, again, kind of like the internet, just feels like everything. You just feel so lost inside the foreverness of that connection. And that's so beautiful. And I think it's one of the best things about being alive is that feeling of invincibility when you're just like you're in love, or you're just so connected to someone. And so that's kind of like nothing can kill us, right? That's the celebration. And then, of course, things fall apart, or they can fall apart, and people die, people leave our lives. But I think for me, I was at the point just emotionally where I was really trying to question how I'm viewing relationships. And there's this notion that when someone's out of your life, they're out of your life. But in so many ways, and I'm sure you can relate too, like those people changed you. You're totally different because of that relationship. They live inside of you, and the way that you approach the world, the way that you talk, the things you're interested in, like all of that stuff is so shaped by these people who are no longer with us. And so nothing destroys that impact, and nothing that it is kind of invincible in a weird way. And capturing that bittersweet feeling, because that's kind of where I'm at, where I'm like, I'm sad, but I'm also I can celebrate this thing. And I don't know, just in talking to a lot of people in my life, people really connect with that feeling of like, yeah, that bittersweet feeling of losing somebody.
Yeah. I mean, it is a bittersweet feeling, and it's like you say, there's a reason why people relate to it because it's kind of a universal feeling. Everyone's gone through that, whether it's, like you say, all different manners. It doesn't have to be a romantic relationship, it could be anything in life. It's definitely something to relate to. And that's, I think, what, again, like I say, is really interesting about this EP is that you're tackling those topics that are on a much bigger scale. I feel it is kind of big, universal things looking outwards in that way.
Totally. And you mentioned a few of the production elements. I wanted the song to be like heavy. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, and it
because
feels it.
that's the other thing, like the subs and stuff that like hit on that, and we mixed it with the drums pretty loud. Like, you know, I still, I think sonically wanted all of this to feel kind of dense and saturated, but to be exploring, yeah, some of these more macro things instead of just the kind of reactive. This is, actually, I was talking about this, and I think this is a good way to view these two EPs. Inside Voices is like a reaction, and Outside Voices is a response,
That's good. That's good. Yeah, I was gonna
right?
ask you that actually because that is I got to imagine as an artist something really interesting. Now that you have actually completed these two halves of a whole, how do you
Yeah.
look back on it as a complete thing? But I guess you've just answered it. It feels like the two edges there.
And of course, like to get to a response, you have to have a reaction. I
Yeah.
mean, right, like this is kind of, I think this is the process. And for me, not to guide us to the next song, but like the third song on this EP, maybe there's a way, even though it's in the middle, it is in many ways to me the end point of the reaction response pathway, which is to say that you can consistently react in a way that disappoints yourself and others, and then one day you can respond.
Yeah.
You can actually just do it differently. And
Yeah.
that is amazing to me about human beings.
It's a really interesting traceable journey now that the two halves are together, like we say. But what I did want to pick you up on there, as you said earlier, that maybe even a couple more tracks to come. Do you feel like this is the completion of the story you wanted to tell here, those two halves, or is there more to be said here then?
I do feel like this is the completion. There are two little there's a couple little sprinkles
Okay.
to slightly add a couple more elements of nuance to the story. But no, I feel very much like this is the story I want to tell here. And it's, I think, and I talked about this with the last EP, it's kind of about embracing for me all of the voices in my head. Some of the ones that I don't love and I'm not always super proud of. But I think when you're able to actually listen to yourself in a non-judgmental way, you can get to that place of like, okay, here's what I'm going to do next, and I'm going to do it as thoughtfully as possible because I actually took the time to listen to how I was feeling and respond and reacting to things. Um, and so I do feel just personally, um, I'm in a, I don't know, making these EPs, making this record has actually like kind of changed my life. I mean, which I guess is part of the point, but I do feel in touch with myself in a way that I don't think I did before.
Man, that's interesting. And it makes it even more interesting because, I mean, one more thing I did really want to ask about the CP in particular, I suppose, is that it feels like with everything you've been working on, you can even look at the covers EP really and stuff. So much collaboration here. And I know that's like how you kind of like to work anyway, but I can only imagine that particularly when we've all been starved for connection over the past couple of years and everything, and when you're talking about these kind of topics, particularly ones that are got this really wide relatability, having that kind of connection to other artists in a way must just be like a godsend on something like this.
Oh my God. Yeah, I think what has been really exciting during this time to reconnect with is that I enjoy many parts of this job. There's some parts I don't enjoy as much. That's okay. That's like any job. The one part of this that I have, that's the reason I started, and it remains the thing that I love is being with somebody, whether it's we're playing a show, we're in the studio, whatever, and we produce sound together. Um, and we take a nothing and we make a something, even if it lasts for 3 minutes or it's recorded and it's on the internet forever, whatever. That feeling of collaboration, and I think what it really feels like to me is community. Because you're in community with another person. Like even right now, as we have this conversation, like we're communing with each other. Like we're not just conversing, because what we're talking about is kind of like the human experience and how we're navigating life. And I think that part of this job, and part of this like vocation or whatever is just, you know, I guess I always thought it was what I loved about it, but the state of the world and everything that's happened has brought that into really sharp relief, and it's been really wonderful. And I know we were talking about this at the beginning of our chat, but like I've been going to a lot of live shows here in LA, and like I was at my friends were playing the band Mr. Wives. They were
Oh,
playing last
cool. Yeah.
night, and I had co-written a couple songs on their last record, and I love Mandy. And just like, she was so like exuberant on stage, and there was so much. It was like you watch this happen, and you like I started crying. It's just like it's so overwhelming to watch people make something together.
It's so surreal being back in those rooms as well, isn't it? Like, I mean, you feel like, particularly in our lines of work, I mean, you're at shows all the time, but then suddenly it's taken away. And when you get back to it, it's like sense of relief, sense of joy. I can't quite put it into words, really. It's just insane going back to these shows.
Well, and the other thing too, not to derail us, but talking about collaboration,
Mhm.
a live show is this, when you really zoom out, it's this insane collaboration because the audience is collaborating amongst each other. So they've got their own dynamic happening. Like, there was kind of a pit last night. So like, and everyone's like respecting each other. We're seeing what other people are doing. So like we're dancing, we're all connected, right? And then like all the people at the venue are collaborating to put it on. All the crew for the band is collaborating to put it on. Then the band is collaborating. Then all the people who wrote the songs collaborated. It's like this chain of collaboration that honestly nobody really has to do. We all just want to do it. And that like when I start thinking about that, it's so amazing to me that it's like all these people came together just so we could feel connected to this experience of life. And like that's the point of the show. It's a big collaboration. And I think that like that's what collaboration is. When you work with someone and you create that like communal sense of purpose, is that's like life, right?
That is like life. That is like life. You see every little bit of life when you go to a live show. I'm telling you, it's all represented in those
Oh
sweaty
my,
rooms, man. And I
I
miss
know.
it. My God, we missed it. And actually, that leads on very, very nice to the next time we're going to get to see you in the UK, because I got to
Yes.
say, a perfect addition to that lineup. You know, we love Paris here at Rock Sound. We're
Yes.
big, big fans of Lynn. I know you've known Lynn for a long time as well, right? It's got to be really lovely to have these dates in the calendar now.
Oh, yeah, I'm super thrilled. Actually, Lynn was over for dinner and we were like, "Hey, maybe we could do this." So it's really exciting. We met on Warp Tour. We've known each other for 7 years. Like when she was just a little baby, just starting out. And I've loved watching her grow and like come into her own. She's such a badass and just such a kind, like lovely person as well. But yeah, I'm super excited for those dates. Yeah, it's gonna be an amazing show.
Yeah, so, so nice, I would imagine as well, after shows have been away for so long, to be able to do it with a friend like that. That's got to be so, so cool.
Oh my God. I'm telling you, like touring with people, well, of course, your own crew and band you want to love.
Yeah.
But like when you tour with like other acts that you actually like connect with in this deeper way, like we're talking about, it makes the collaboration deeper. It makes the experience that much more meaningful and exciting, and it gives opportunities to like come up for each other's sets and just be playful. Like that's the other thing I love about music is that it's playful. And I love at a live show when like shit's just happening. People coming up on stage, like, I love that. I love that.
Yeah, look forward to seeing you get back to that, man, for sure. And I'll kind of start to wrap up with this and leave you this, really, which is the kind of big question that I know you'll already be thinking about to an extent, and that is what is next. You know, it feels like we've put a little bit of a full stop on what you've been working on, and I know you've been so busy during this last 12 months, and credit to you for that. Actually, being able to be productive and churn stuff out like this is amazing. What might be coming next in terms of, I guess, more stuff for yourself, but also, like we say, you are a collaborative person. Is there anything more you're looking to do at the minute?
Well, first half of next year is pretty much touring. So that's like, touring in
Yeah,
support of Inside Voices,
as it
Outside
should be. That's great.
Voices. So that's kind of like a large part of the focus. But I've been doing more and more songwriting with other artists, which I really enjoy, and I love being a collaborator who's not the front person, you know? I really like that. It suits me. In fact, this afternoon after our conversation, that's what I'm headed to do for an amazing artist that I've been just started to work with. So I've been doing more of that, and then of course, I'm already working on the new K.Flay shit. So, but I think for me, I'm still in that exploratory phase where I'm thinking about like, what can I do that is both exciting for me and exciting for listener. Like it's just new, right? I don't want to keep rehashing the same shit, but then again, I also don't want to be like I'm reborn as I'm still me. Like I can't, unfortunately, for better or worse, I'm stuck here. I'm stuck inside this fucking thing. Um, so yeah, I'm doing explorations on next K-Flay, prepping for this tour, and working with artists to just make sure like not only because I love it, but because it really contributes to the complete death of my ego, which is so fucking important. And I just want to kill that thing. I want it to be buried in the fucking ground.
I want that as an EP title at some point. Contributing to the death of my ego. That's got like maybe if you write a book, there you go. That's definitely a great title
It
to have
sounds like it sounds like an Idols song,
there. It really does. Oh God.
right?
Lads, if you're watching, you can have that one. There you
By
go.
the way, I just public this wasn't even a question. I love Crawler. I
Oh, you're
love the
feeling it.
new Idols record.
It's cool, right?
I just
Uh,
love it's like this story. I just love the fucking journey of it.
yeah. Another one that like the live shows are just going to be outrageous when they come back
Oh
round,
my
isn't it?
God. I know. I need to see it. I need to see it.
So, so exciting, man. So, so exciting. And so is this EP. So are your tour plans, dude. It is always genuinely such a pleasure to talk to you. And like, seriously, congratulations on this new record. We cannot wait to see you out here with Lynn next year. That's going to be so, so much fun. And in the meantime, yeah, just take care of yourself out there, all right?
Thank you so much. It is always a pleasure to talk to you. And yeah, I hope I'll see you like in the pit in May.
Oh, oh, you know it. You know I'm going to be there for that one. You absolutely know it. All right. K Play, everybody.